AD 2047, Nevada Test Site 4, Groom Lake Facility. The silence in the bunker was heavy, pressurized, much like the suit Major Max Stone was currently sweating inside. Biometrics are holding steady. Heart rate 120. Cortisol levels are elevated, but within tolerance. A technician's voice droned over the comms, detached and clinical. He's not a lab rat, doctor. General Vance's gravelly voice cut through the static, sounding closer than he was. He's G4 Special Forces. He's not nervous. He's calibrated. Max adjusted the collar of his thermal pressure suit. It felt less like clothing, and more like a second skin designed to keep his molecules from scattering across the fourth dimension. Through the 6-inch reinforced glass of the containment chamber, he could see the blurred, frantic movements of the science team. They looked like ants scurrying before a storm. "Sound check, Major," the technician requested. "This is Major Stone," Max said. His voice echoed slightly in his helmet, sounding steady, betraying none of the existential dread pooling in the pit of his stomach. "Requesting permission to make history. Or unmake it, whichever comes first." "Cut the chatter, Max," Vance ordered, though there was a hint of tension in his tone. "Remember the mission parameters. This is strictly reconnaissance. You are an observer. Target date, March 14th, 44 BC. Location, the outskirts of Rome. Objective, verify the conspiracy against Julius Caesar. You verify, you record, and you get the hell out. Do not engage. Do not interfere with the timeline." "Understood, General," Max replied, his fingers dancing over the tactical computer strapped to his left forearm. No saving the Republic. No betting on gladiator matches. Just a tourist, with a very expensive, very classified camera. "Initiating the Chronos drive," the PA system announced. Temporal displacement in 10 seconds. The hum of the machine began as a low vibration in Max's teeth and quickly escalated into a sound like tearing metal. The air around him began to warp. The sterile white lights of the lab twisted into impossible geometries, bleeding colors Max didn't know existed. 5, 4. Max closed his eyes. He tried to ground himself. He thought about the steak dinner Vance had promised him upon return. He thought about his ex-wife Karen, who had told him he was a man with no future. "Well, joke's on you, Karen," Max thought, a grim smile touching his lips. "I'm going to the past." 2, 1. Ignition. Gravity reversed. The world dissolved into a blinding, silent white fire. And then, Major Max Stone ceased to exist in the 21st century. 47 BC. The Apennine Mountains, Italy. The silence of the ancient world was heavy, a physical weight that pressed against the ears. It was a silence devoid of engines, of electricity, of the constant hum of the digital age. Then, the sky tore open. A streak of blue lightning, unnatural and jagged, shattered the calm of the afternoon. It was followed by a concussive boom that sent flocks of starlings scattering from the olive groves in a panic. The metallic pod, smoking and scorched from its journey through time, plowed through a terraced vineyard, tearing up the rich Italian earth before coming to a violent, grinding halt against a limestone outcrop. Steam hissed from the seams of the craft. The hatch was kicked open from the inside with a metallic clang. Max Stone tumbled out, hitting the rocky ground hard. He scrambled away on hands and knees, gasping for air. The air here was different, richer, sharper, smelling of ozone, crushed wild thyme, and sun-baked earth. He collapsed onto his back, coughing violently as his lungs adjusted to the atmosphere. "Status," he wheezed, tapping his wrist computer. The screen flickered weakly. The Gorilla Glass was cracked, spiderweb lines obscuring the holographic display. Critical error. Temporal displacement failure. Target date missed. Current date estimation. 47 BC. Return module. Offline. Core depleted. Offline? Max stared at the screen, wiping soot from his face. "What do you mean, offline?" "This was a round-trip ticket. I have a debriefing on Tuesday." He stood up, his legs shaking. He stripped off the futuristic pressure suit, burying it under a pile of loose rocks as per protocol. Underneath, he wore a rough spun tunic and leather sandals, period-accurate camouflage provided by the historians. He checked his utility belt, a Swiss Army knife, a solar-powered lighter, a compact medical kit, and a pouch of gold coins minted to look like Roman aurii. But his holster was empty. His standard-issue tranquilizer pistol was gone, likely lost during the crash. "Great," Max muttered, scanning the rolling hills. No skyscrapers. No power lines. Just endless green, the distant shimmer of the Mediterranean Sea, and the imposing peaks of the Apennines. "Welcome to ancient Rome, Max. Population, you." Crack. The sound of a dry twig snapping was subtle, but to a G4 operative, it was as loud as a gunshot. Max spun around, dropping into a defensive crouch. His training took over before his conscious mind could catch up. Standing 10 yards away, emerging from the shadow of an olive tree, was a woman. She was a striking figure, dressed in leather armor that had seen better days, dust coating her worn boots. A short sword, a gladius, hung at her hip. Her hair was cropped short in a practical golden bob, and her eyes were the color of glacial ice, cold and calculating. She stared at the smoking wreckage of the pod, then at Max. She didn't look terrified, as a peasant might. She looked like a predator, assessing a new type of prey. "You're not a merchant," she said. Her Latin was rough, guttural, but Max's linguistic implant translated it instantly into English in his auditory cortex. "And you're too clean to be a slave. A deserter from the legions?" "I prefer the term traveler," Max said, raising his hands slowly, palms open. "I come from far away. The East." "The East?" she scoffed, stepping closer. "You have the accent of a drunk Gaul and the face of a patrician. I don't care who you are. This is my territory. Look, lady, I just had a very bad flight. I'm not looking for trouble. Trouble is my trade." She moved with terrifying speed. The gladius flashed in the sunlight as she lunged. It was a killing strike, efficient and brutal, aimed right for his throat. Max didn't panic. His perception of time seemed to slow down. In his timeline, he had disarmed terrorists in narrow corridors and wrestled in underground cages in Bangkok. He stepped inside her guard, his left hand snapping out to catch her wrist. He used her own momentum against her, pivoting his hips and driving his shoulder into her chest. The Sioinaj, a classic Judo shoulder throw, unknown to the Roman world. The woman flew through the air, her world turning upside down, before she slammed into the dirt hard enough to knock the wind out of a centurion. Dust billowed around them. Max didn't draw a weapon. He simply stepped back, dusting off his hands. "In my village," Max said, looking down at her struggling form, "we usually say hello before trying to stab someone." The woman gasped, rolling onto her side. She coughed, glaring up at him, but the murderous intent was gone, replaced by a grudging, bewildered respect. She sat up, rubbing her bruised shoulder. That was not a Roman technique," she wheezed. "It was not Greek. What are you?" "Max Stone." He offered a hand to help her up. She eyed it suspiciously, then ignored it, and stood up on her own. "And you are?" "Sylvia," she said, sheathing her sword with a sharp click. "I hunt men for money." "Bounty hunter. Charming career choice," Max quipped. "Well, Sylvia, since you haven't killed me, maybe you can point me in the direction of Rome? I have an appointment with destiny. Or at least, I need a drink." Sylvia looked him up and down, a smirk playing on her lips. "Rome is 3 days' ride, and you won't last a day on the road alone. Wolves, bandits, deserters, you have strange skills, stranger. But you walk like a man who doesn't know the land. Is that an offer of protection?" "It's an offer of employment," she said, turning and walking toward the dirt road. "I need someone to carry my gear. You look strong enough. Come on. If we're lucky, we might make it to the nearest inn before nightfall." Max looked back at the burial site of his time machine, then at the retreating figure of the bounty hunter. He had no way home. He was stuck in 47 BC. Well, Max grinned, a spark of adventure igniting in his chest despite the situation. When in Rome, he jogged to catch up with her.